Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my session. I need something to be able. Great, so we are there. So I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me. So just a quick introduction. My name is Salwa Karboune. I'm coming from McGill University, located in Montreal. This is a real picture where I am from. McGill has 3 campuses, and I'm in the McDonald campus, one where I'm the dean and the associate vice president of the McDonald campus. To give you just a landscape, the faculty is located at the west of the island of Montreal, and we are around 650 hectares. There are many research units there, and horticulture center, dairy farmer, and poultry units, as you can see. So as many other faculties of agriculture, our focus is really on the training the future leaders and innovators. So research is at the center of what we do, and innovation, but also the outreach, it takes an important part of it. We have almost 25,000 alumni across more than 80 countries. And our vision and mission has been always how to tackle some of the global challenges. And when we talk about grand challenges, we're talking about challenges facing the environment, facing the natural resources, the food system, the human health, but also the society. Our research priorities can be centered around 4 main axes, but for today's presentation, I'm going to focus on 2, the One Health and the healthy and safety food system. So I will start with the healthy and food systems, and I think today, with the context where we are, we're looking on how to make our food system more sustainable and secure. And as you can see from here, which does present the research landscape of our faculty, we are the food security at the center of what we do. But of course, to be able to feed the food security in an efficient way, we need to be able to ensure the nutrient diversity, the nutrient density, the sustainable food production, the sustainable diets, but also provide all the tools that will help us to get the safe food through the foodomics, food science, food safety, and animal source food. One Health is one key, because when we talk about the health of the people, it's important to link them as well to the health of our environment, the health of the soil, the health of the plants, and also the diverse bridges, or I would say interfaces, that we have with those different components. And as you can see from here, the One Health, it is at the center, and around it we can see the interaction, the gene-environment interactions. We see the nutrition, the food governance, the agricultural production, and also the parasites and animal models. Okay, so I will focus my next, I would say, 20 minutes on the bioinnovation for secure and sustainable food system, which is part of what I'm doing as a research in my research group. As you know, that the sustainable food production, it's quite challenging, and the only way how we can make a secure and sustainable food system, it does require a multi-dimensions. We know today that all the dimensions need to be considered if we want to have a secure and sustainable food system, going from how ethically we are sourcing our food and our ingredients, how safe and stable are our food system, how sustainable is our nutrition. So I had a meeting with our excellency here present yesterday, and I mentioned that we talk now more about nutritional sustainability than food sustainability, because it's important to make sure that we are making the nutrition diversity, but also we're retaining the nutrients across the food chain as well. And also how to come up with integrated solutions, because there will be never one solution. It's really an integrated solutions where we combine all the solutions and we came up with it in a more comprehensive way. So when we talk about food, it's like human. The food has a profile. and all the components of the food are very important. So either we're talking the nutritional profile, the positioning and image profile, the usage profile, the technological profile, but we need to add to it today the sustainability profile. So this is important when we would like to come up with any food system, is to make the profile much more sufficient. Now, we know that the consumers are increasingly adopting sustainable and healthy diets, but they're also pushing for clean labels and clear labels as well. And to be able to achieve that, we need to do that in much more sustainable way. So this has been the center of what I'm doing as a research, is really how to satisfy the needs of the consumers, but also to make sure that we are doing it in a sustainable manner. So I always say to my students that we should learn from nature. And I think there is a lot to learn from the nature. And our approach has been, how can we learn to predict, because we like to predict what will happen as a change during the food system, but we don't only want to predict, we want also to be able to modulate and to make the changes when it's needed to be made. And we would like as well to adopt the best practices and to create value, because the only way how we can get this type of practices to be adopted by the consumers and by the industry is that they see a value of adding those components. So I'm going to give some example of each one of those elements. Building a multidimensional platform for expanding the application of natural sustainable ingredient in food application. So what we have been doing is we build a platform, and this platform is a database. It's accessible to everyone. And through this database, our goal was how to make the selection of the ingredients much more optimistic, but also much more convenient, and how we can help to build a sustainable food product through the selection of the appropriate ingredients. So in this platform here, you can see that it was important to consider the multidimensional aspect, the sustainability of the ingredients, but also their effectiveness. So this is a platform, we call it Accelerating Innovation Properly, where we have more than 5,400 ingredients, and all those ingredients are natural. They tend to provide functionality in the food system. They're important to make the food tasty with a nice texture, but also they can provide some health benefit as well. So the multidimensional approach has been also very important in considering the synergy between those different ingredients. And that comes always about how to learn from nature. We know in the nature that many of those components, they coexist together. And the fact that they coexist together, there must be a reason for that. So how can we explore that in a much more efficient way? So for that, the platform provides all these multidimensional parameters. And just to give you an example of the landscape, so each one of the dots is considered as an ingredient. And when it is larger, it means that we have many data on these ingredients. And the link is done when the properties, they are being linked all together. So this is give you an idea about the landscape of our platform. We have done it as well for the foaming agents. And to push it further, remember, I mentioned something about the multifunctionality. I want to use ingredients that they provide more than function. And that as well has been shown here. This is for dairy sector, where when they are looking for some ingredient to make their product, they can select the one that they can provide many functionalities. And we can see it here as well for the bread and for the bakery products. So this is an example of platform that we have developed to help as a tool to make the selection of sustainable natural ingredients more efficient. I'm coming to my next point, which is learning to predict. Predicting the behavior of our food within a food system is very important. And there are many mathematical models that can help us to do that. And how can we explore the biodiversity of the food systems? So I would like to start by saying that there is still a lot to learn from our food. There have been an international team put together where they're looking to the food from a composition perspective. And the objective behind it was, how can we explore more the biodiversity of the food? This is a nice article that was published in Nature Food, and it shows here clearly that within a food system, there are many things that we know how to measure, we know that are present in our food system, but there is still a dark matter here which is unknown. So being able to determine this dark matter in a much more efficient way will help us to explore more the biodiversity. So I can talk about the natural extracts and the essential oils because they are very important components. They are just complex by nature. That's the nature. It did bring them as being complex. So generally, when we talk about those components, we can use them as a natural antioxidant, as a natural antimicrobial agent, and can help us to expand the shelf life of the food products. But if you look at the plant extract here, their composition is very complex, the essential oil as well. And what we have done a benchmarking where we look at different essential oil and different plant extracts, and we looked at their composition and try to understand if we can classify their functionality based on their composition. And doing that using a non-targeted chemical profiling, but doing that as well with the targeted chemical profiling. And we can see here that extracts coming from different sources, they can still be clustered together because they have different composition. Now, with this type of analysis, we were able to build a predictive model that can help us to predict their functionality. But what we have done as well is that we wanted to see how far can we be close to what the nature offer. So we started to mix some natural essential oil with the monocomponent phenolic components, with the mix of components, and what we call them, it's a human-made, or by crude plant extract. So in that particular case, we know, for instance, that the grape seed contain mainly catechin and epicatechin. And the question was, if I mix catechin and epicatechin, would I get something closer to what the nature offer? So we can see here from this result that when I mix the essential oil with the individual polyphenol, I can see from here that the antioxidant activity very low, but I have some synergistic action with epicatechin, but with quercetin as well. When we move to the mix of polyphenol with the human-made, I see that the green tea does mix very well, and it enhances the antioxidant properties of some essential oil. But when I use the natural-made crude extract, it does behave completely different. And that shows the complexity of the biodiversity, but shows as well the potential that we can get if we're able to mix the appropriate ingredient together. So we can see here that there is a synergistic action with the grape seed extract and many of the essential oil, with the green tea extract and other essential oil. And this is more clear here in this graph. So the take note from here is learning how to predict, but also trying to take advantage of the synergistic interactions that we have between the ingredients to be able to build a more sustainable food product. My next example is how to adopt a holistic approach for fostering innovation in agri-food system. And the best way to be able to demonstrate that is through an example. So in that particular case, we work with the company, they do make chocolate, right? So when you make chocolate, you do have a lot of chocolate. We have the skin, which is surrounded by the cacao bean, and all the skin is considered as a bioproduct. So our rationale here was, how can we take this bioproduct, valorize it into an ingredient that we can put it back into the chocolate? So it's somehow, how can we make a circular food system where our bioproduct now, it's not more a challenge, it's now an ingredient that can add value to my product. So we started, of course, by looking what is the composition of this cacao bean shell, and we realized that it contains a high amount of phenolic compounds, but also a high amount of plant cell wall polysaccharides. So we had isolated these two components and characterized them, but we pushed it even further, is that we combined those two components through a biocatalytic approach, where we are now making what we call a ferulated carbohydrate. They contain the non-digestible part as a prebiotic, but they contain the antioxidant parts. So this is a good example that from an abundant material, we can get some added value. And in that particular case, whatever we generated, it had an antioxidant activity and it has a prebiotic activity. Now, what was very nice to hear is when we took this ingredient and we put it back in a chocolate and mixed with the carob. So the idea is, you know, the cacao bean the prices has been very up, and the industry is looking for alternatives, looking on how they can substitute some of the cacao with other products, like in that case is the carob. And what we did is that when we added our ingredient into it, it did help to increase the overall acceptance and the purchase intent as by a consumer study. So this is an example where the bioproduct was not only has been valorized into a functional, sustainable ingredients, but it did also enhance the acceptability and the purchase intent of the product. And that's because it did bring some of the flavor that we were not able to mimic by substituting the carob with the chocolate cacao with the carob. My last example would be how can we create value through the diversification of the functionality. I strongly believe on the nutritional sustainability, the ability to enhance the functionality of the food to be able to make it secure. And in that particular example, I have the maple syrup. So maple syrup is very abundant in North of America. In Canada, we produce a lot of maple syrup, which is equivalent to honey here. And maple syrup contains a lot of sucrose. And the rationale here was to use two enzymes that we produce in my lab to convert sucrose into prebiotics, non-digestible oligosaccharide, non-digestible polysaccharide. So the enzyme did work very nice on the maple. So by just taking the maple, adding the enzymes, they were able to convert through transfructulization reaction the sucrose into prebiotics. And we could see here that depending on the bricks of the syrup, you may get either an oligolevain and fructoligosaccharide that being produced, or we can get a leaven, oligolevain and leaven that are being produced. So we were very pleased with these results, and we decided that maybe we should make an in vivo study to see the impact of those prebiotics on the prebiotic microbiota of mice. So here we had dealt with two different in vivo studies using mice. The first one was using inulin that we know, or using our leaven. And we could see from this result that using leaven, we were able to stimulate the low molecular weight leaven and high molecular weight leaven. We're able to stimulate the growth of the beneficial bacteria, and that has been shown through the plasma. So, you know, the microbiota is extremely important. I personally consider it as the brain of our health. And so the obesity has been linked to our microbiota. And we wanted to kind of, show or demonstrate this hypothesis. So through our study here, we use an obese mice as a model with the hyper tension, and we had used an obese treated one with low molecular weight leaven, and we could see here that one of the Akkermansiasis, which has been shown that this bacteria it's not present with the when we have obese animals. So we could see that by giving the low molecular leaven, we could increase the extent of these microorganisms, and the results as well show that there is also less bad fat as compared to the non-treated mice. So my conclusion to that, and I'm hoping that I was able to convince you through these 4 different examples, that there is a great potential in exploring the diversity of our food, and the bio-innovation, the biocatalytic approach can help us to make a secure and sustainable food systems. I would like to thank all the funding agencies that have contributed and have helped me to fund all our studies. And of course, as you can guess, I'm not the one who have conducted all those studies. I would like to thank all my PhDs, master and postdocs that have been involved directly or indirectly in all of the studies that I showed you today. So, and thank you for your attention.